In this video, I provide two of the leading arguments for existence of God. One is based on recent scientific discoveries in the field of genetic biology, and the other is known as CFD, which stands for Complex Functional Designs. When it comes to the origin of life, there are really two worldviews that are dominating our universities, dividing our scientists, and confusing our children. One is known as naturalistic or Darwinian, and the other is creation through an intelligent designer. In this presentation, I show you why the strongest argument provided by neo-Darwinian naturalists, namely unguided creation through natural selection, is irrational when it comes to explaining the origin of life. My objective is to provide rational arguments and scientific facts for defending that our universe and all that is in it was created intentionally. So if you're offended by ideas that are different from yours, or if you don't like to be bothered by scientific truth because you have already chosen what to believe, this presentation is not for you. But if you like to learn about two of the strongest arguments for God and intentional creation, then you are at the right place. Hi, my name is Kurosh. I'm a Christian apologist with just about 20 years of experience in teaching science and logically defending the Christian faith. I will not be getting too technical while presenting two of the strongest arguments for God, namely complex functional design and complex genetic codes in early life forms. I will also logically defend why life did not evolve from simple organisms and animals. Now, without further ado, let's begin. How could life forms have evolved from simple organisms when the simplest organisms ever found in the fossil record are made of highly complex genetic codes and information which is the fabric of their existence? New scientific discoveries prove there is no such a thing as simple living organisms in the oldest level of fossil records. What appeared to be simple life forms making the first evolutionary steps was highly complex already. Fossil records prove that while visually early life forms appear to be simple or basic, they are actually very highly complex at the genetic coding and information level. Highly complex information and codes that are needed for simple organisms or simple appearing animals and life forms to exist. When Darwin wrote his book, or Richard Dawkins, the well-known atheist, read it, they had no idea how complex the written genetic codes and other information are inside simple appearing organisms. Where did all these extremely complex information and genetic codes come from when Darwinian evolution began to take its first steps? There are many convincing arguments for existence of a personal cause of the universe, but in this presentation, I will focus more on CFD, or complex functional design. We live in a universe that appears to be designed at every level according to many theist and atheist scientists. Well-known physicists, biologists, astronomers, and mathematicians, and many others have already acknowledged the overwhelming evidence for design in our universe and everywhere in its nature. I am not referring to random designs. Even if they are highly complex, they can still be created by accident through chance. Let's look at some samples of unguided random designs. Here we see some rocks that are shaped like hearts. No one can really claim that someone must have carved them to look like this. This kind of simple design can easily be made by pure chance, without any designer involved. It is obvious that nature shaped them to look like this without any planning, just through random chance. How about these highly complex splash paintings? They're complex in design, but random chance or accident can create them without the need of a creator or a painter. But when we consider this famous painting, it is immediately clear that it must have a creator. Throwing paint against a wall will not produce something like this, no matter how many times and how often we try it. Random chance cannot produce this design. But why not? What is the difference between this design and the other designs we just saw? The answer is obvious. In this painting, we see clear evidence of intentional order. Even though no human that is alive today witnessed anybody painting this artwork, we have no doubt that someone must have painted it because of its intentional design. It must have a designer. Regardless if we can see the designer or not, we are 100% convinced there must have been a person, a personal creator who created this artwork. We will never be able to see the artist because he passed away in 1510. But just by looking at his artwork, we can tell a lot about him and his attributes, because his creation in a way is like a mirror telling us that he was a patient man. He was more than average person, emotional. He was a detail-oriented person, and so on. Now that we considered some random and intentional designs, let's look at some complex functional designs. Like this watch, for example. It is immediately obvious that there must have been a creator, a person responsible for designing and making every component in this watch. How about this jet engine? Can random chance create something like this? We are not dealing here only with a complex design like a pile of metal. These complex designs produce a deliberate function. Such designs never become reality unless somebody imagined, desired, and planned their final function before they existed. When we look at these human-like robots, we have no doubt that they also must have a creator. It must be a group of smart people. But as soon as we see a biological complex design that is thousands of times more complex than these robots, all of a sudden we have doubt and think just because they are biological, then their design was accidental by chance and through natural selection and so on. Now you know why atheist naturalists want to be in control of our children's textbooks. They need access to our brains when we are still young and easy to convince. The human eye is an extremely complex functional design. When considering its complexity, it follows logically there must be an intelligent designer who designed it before the first eye even existed. In short, God. That is where the problem begins for atheists, since the only logical and plausible option, namely existence of a designer or God, is unthinkable to them. They must bend and twist logic to get rid of God, and that is exactly when many atheists leave science and become religious by making things up to support their beliefs. Some claim there is no design. The human eye just appears to be designed. So they refute design altogether, so they don't have to face the designer. Other atheists accept the obvious that the human eye, hands and body contains design, but still reject the obvious need for a designer. This is where they play out the only card they have left, the neo-Darwinian theory of natural selection. Without having a solid proof, they claim that through a very slow process, nature automatically designs an eye if needed. But when you present a foolish theory to refute logic through someone like Richard Dawkins, who is a scientist, just like in a miracle, foolishness becomes a scientific fact. Whatever the high priest of Darwinian religion preaches is believed by his followers, as it is done with other false religions. Fossil record has already proven Darwinian evolution to be wrong. When we go to the oldest fossil records ever found, highly complex eyes are already there. As we get closer to our time, other less complex forms of eyes appear in the fossil records, the exact opposite of evolution. The existing fossil record proves without a shadow of doubt that advanced eyes had already existed in the oldest level of fossil records. Another scientific proof that eyes have not evolved from simple to complex. They began complex in fossil records. A devastating blow to the heart of the religious doctrine known as creation through natural selection. Evolutionists continue to argue that since there are many similarities in the organs and structure of different animals living today and in the past, then they must have evolved from each other or have common ancestors or relatives. This argument is also the core belief of Richard Dawkins and being taught in many schools around the world today. This argument is as foolish as claiming since there are many similarities among Ford automobiles and their models, then they must have evolved from each other or be common ancestors. Similarities in design do not point to a common ancestor, but point to a common designer. When we see similarities in organs of animals, the best explanation is that they must have the same designer who reflects his personal design preferences in many of his designs. All human designers do the same. Just look at the work of any famous fashion designer, and you will find many similarities there. Naturalists know very well that Darwinian natural selection only remotely proves limited changes to a living organism. It does not prove or say anything about design and creation of an organ that did not exist before. Darwin documents only the possibility of change in organs that finches already had, namely the beaks and their feet. Natural selection may create limited changes within an existing species. Any dog breeder can confirm that. We don't need Darwin for that. But no dog breeder has or will ever pull a monkey out of a dog. Natural selection's ability is limited to improvement of a complete design that is already there. Natural selection can never create an eye from scratch because it requires a complete design plan beforehand. Even the simplest organisms are made by highly complex genetic codes and information. The question naturalists cannot answer is, where did all the complex genetic information came from that is needed to create a simple appearing organism? Only a mind can produce the information and codes needed to create life. Nature does not have the ability to think, plan, or write genetic codes that are building blocks of life. You would need an intelligent code writer for that. We can call him God. CFD is a knockout argument delivered by Christian apologists for many years, but many evolutionists don't lay down their false beliefs. It appears to me that for many of them, such as Richard Dawkins and his followers, resisting Christianity is far more important than science, truth, and decency combined. The best explanation for complex functional designs seen in our universe is a designer or God. Creation through natural selection is a religious belief system that creates everything out of nothing. A wild stretch of imagination, fraudulently packaged and promoted under the name of science, because Darwinians know we love science, we all love science. The good news is that there are countless Christian scientists and apologists who will continue to defend science and expose lies of man-made religions. I consider Darwinians to be religious themselves while they ridicule all other religions. The burden of proof remains on naturalists to scientifically demonstrate and prove their beliefs to be true. Until now, in the year 2021, there is not even one solid evidence or proof of any kind that demonstrates that one kind of animal has evolved from another kind. Until then, we should follow logic, and when we see some complex designs, believe in the best explanation. There must be an intelligent designer. If you found this presentation useful, I'm sure you will love to hear from another Christian apologist, Stephen Meyer, who has a PhD in philosophy of science from Cambridge University and does a much better job than I do in explaining the complex genetic codes in early life forms. I have posted some links to his videos below and also on my website. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel as I will be posting new videos very soon. Thank you and see you soon.